You know, she's in. Hey, look, I was able to do it. All right, so yeah, obviously we're a little bit late, but it's just the three of us tonight. My fourth couldn't make it. She's got a big presentation that she's got to do over the next 3 days at work, and so she was like, "Hey, can I take a rain check?" But interestingly enough, she's one of our biggest fans. She listens to our podcast all the time. She tells other people about us, which I think is pretty cool. Also, Baker Publishing, in other news, Baker Publishing has agreed to sponsor our episodes. It's a free pilot program, so I'm offering it to them for free because they buy the advertising on our site already. I want to see how it works with our podcast. So we will see. We will see. So could be lucrative, you guys. You guys could start getting paid.
Ooh.
You could start getting paid for your guest appearances, depending on how much they're willing to shell out and how much I determine it's worth. So, thing is, if they start advertising, that means I literally have to have an episode every single week. I have to have something, a platform to sell it to them on. But anyway, that's neither here nor there at this moment. Today, we're going to talk about our digital lives, digital selves, digital, just digital everything, really. And so, the question that I sent out for this topic is, how much is your life affected by online interaction, i.e. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, blogs, websites, texting, chat, etc.? Do you find your disposition on life is affected positively or negatively by social media? How do you rest from online media intake? So, kind of want to tackle those questions separately. I want to start off kind of talking about how our lives are affected, and within that, talk about how our lives are affected both positively and negative, and then the question will be, you know, how do we rest from this? How do we take a Sabbath from our digital selves, if that makes any sense? So, yeah. So, how is social media affecting your guys' lives, and in what ways is it affecting your lives, positively or negatively? Both and. So, anybody can go from here.
Yeah, I can start. I think I was kind of late to the cell phone game and Facebook compared to a lot of my friends, and so I mean, really 5 years ago, I didn't have a smartphone. I used a flip. I didn't get an actual cell phone until, I mean, I was like 26, and I just got a smartphone in like 2010, I guess. So I mean, it really hasn't been that long. And I mean, I got it. I got a smartphone because I was doing a lot of public relations things and just having trouble with connections and wanted to be able to check my emails on the go. And it just made a lot of sense. And so I thought, well, practically it won't really change my life that much except for when I'm working and volunteering. But as I came to find out, it's not that simple. It's something that kind of is part of you all the time. It changes your work life because you're not just at work when you're at work. You always have your phone, so I can always check my email. I can always, I don't really take a rest from that. It blurs the lines between when I'm working and when I'm home. And as far as Facebook, now that I'm a stay-at-home mother, Facebook is my social interaction for the most part. I mean, I meet up with friends a couple times a week, and I talk my husband's ear off when he gets home from work. But during the day, I talk to my 2-year-old, and I talk to social media land, and texting as well. And I honestly, like, there's part of it that's really good for me because it's nice to have people to talk to. It's nice when I have questions and I can shoot them out there, ask people if they know the answers, or just say something that I think is really funny that my 2-year-old obviously doesn't understand, and I can get some validation that, yes, I am still hilarious even if no one is here to hear what I'm saying, and which is important to me. And but it's also bad for me because I think I get so much of my value based on how people are interacting with me on Facebook. So if I put something on, like if I update a status and it doesn't get a lot of traffic, then I suddenly am like super down about myself. Or if I say something that I mean to be not controversial at all, but somebody decides to like have a go at me about it, I get super agitated, and it's like a stupid thing that if somebody said it face to face, it probably wouldn't even bother me, but I just feel the need to like respond immediately, and it gets heated, and then I'm sitting here talking to nobody but irritated about something dumb. And so, and I have a lot of those situations, and in fact, I can't even check. I have to make myself not look at Facebook before I go to bed, because it never fails. I'll see something, a disturbing story, or somebody that's just being stupid, and then I either like can't help myself and have to talk to them about it, or just am thinking about this disturbing thing that I just saw and can't sleep. So for me, it has honestly been a source of anxiety, as well as being a nice social outlet.
I think I agree with you, and completely align with you in the area of, hey, you know what, this is this is how I stay in touch. This is how I connect. I mean, obviously, I'm not a stay-at-home mom, as everybody should know. But I go to work every day and do those kinds of things. But I not that for our single mothers, or not single mothers, our stay-at-home moms or single moms, I don't want you to hear me insinuating that being a mom is not a job. That is a job. So let me just backtrack there, dig myself out of a hole. Kara, you have the hardest job on earth. I saw the Hallmark commercial. I saw it. Uh, but yeah, I mean, social media for me, I mean, it's a way of staying connected. It's you got, especially on again, Facebook's kind of. I think when people say social media, most of us, the first thing that pops into our mind is Facebook. But with Facebook come things like invitations to not just play games, but to also be invited to actual events. Graduation party, weddings, just a get together. Hey, a bunch of people from the job that I was in prior to the one that I'm in now. A bunch of people wanted to go out biking around Belle Isle, and they just put out an invite on Facebook saying, "Hey guys, we're doing this at this time at this place. Join us." And so we had a nice little turnout. And in addition to that, there's sometimes there's people from high school that you reconnect with, like, oh, hey, what's your life like? Oh, wow, crazy, you have kids now. That's so cool. And you can kind of digitally, rekindle a friendship. Insofar as Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and things like that will allow you to do that. So in many, many ways, it connects me. I'm able to see what's going on with my brother who lives in Japan, my other brother who lives in Africa, my sister who lives in Atlanta. They've got pictures. I have a niece over, of course, I have a niece in Japan, and so I'm not there. I'm here in Michigan, and so I'm able to see her pictures as she's kind of growing up and videos, and so that's really cool. And social media offers access in ways that people otherwise would be disconnected. I grew up in a military family, and I often told people in my last job when they came in, they'd be talking about Skype, or they'd be talking about FaceTime, or they'd talking about Facebook, and I would often comment, I don't know how my mom and dad did it, because we lived in Japan at one point, and my dad got called off to go to Korea, and he was in Korea for several months, if memory serves me correctly. And back then they didn't have Skype, they didn't have Facebook, they didn't have Twitter. If you got a phone call from your significant other, you had to be home to get that, and you couldn't talk that long because long distance rates at that point were ridiculous. And now you've got, again, my brother in Africa, my brother in Japan. Hop on Skype, no cost whatsoever. I'm able to connect with them. I'm able to see their pictures on Facebook. I'm able to follow their posts and all those different things. And so very, very positive side of social media. But like you, Kara, there's the downside of it is getting into fruitless debates with people, getting agitated over things that you probably wouldn't be agitated with if someone said them to your face, or you might be agitated with. I think I'd sometimes get agitated at the fact that people would say things that they would never say to my face. But you've got this digital bravado to say the most heinous, ugly things possible. And everybody's saying everything that comes to mind. I believe Scripture says that a fool is known by his many words. And so you've got a generation of people that are known by their many words, known by their political position or their religious position or their position on something cultural. And I'm like, in the rest of my life, I don't make it a point to tell you, hey, I vote this way. Hey, I think this way religiously. Hey, I don't like this or that thing in the culture. Hey, I don't do that. Otherwise, I keep my feelings to myself. But with social media, it's like, hey, I want everybody to know what it is I think. I can't even sit down to a meal. Like, I would sit down to a meal, and I would take a picture of my food that I'm about to eat, and as I'm eating the food, I would be looking on my phone to see how many people had liked the picture of the food I was now eating. Like, and I would be upset if I didn't get any likes on that. Was it just like, really? You can't just sit down and enjoy this meal? I mean, there are people who are starving in Africa. We're starving here in America, and you're upset that you're not getting likes on the food that you're eating right now? For real. I mean, and that was really kind of the point where I said, you know what, I need to get off Facebook. And I actually got off Facebook. I'm not on, I'm kind of on Facebook. I had to have a dummy account in order to run the Facebook accounts for the Christian Manifesto and Jacob Sessions and things like that. But it's literally just a dummy account with 5 pictures, no friends, nothing. I deleted my Facebook account, and now I sit down. I enjoy people's presence. I sit down. I eat a meal. I don't have to take a picture of it. I am on Instagram because I do like photos. So I do still sometimes take photos of food. But for the most part, I'm getting a lot of time back, and I'm less agitated, I think. But anyway.
Well, I think I can honestly say that I have not gone to that extreme, taking pictures of food and getting upset about whether or not people like it or not.
Hey man, you don't know what you're missing. You have to do it tonight. I tell you, it will become an addiction. It will become an addiction. Don't do it.
Cal, when I saw you do it the first time you did it, I made an oath to myself that I would not be one of those people.
No, Justin, you're just a guy that gets into long debates with people on Facebook.
I do, and you know what? That used to really frustrate me, and now I don't get irritated with it anymore. So I think there's 2 ways in which social media has been good for me. Number one, it's taught me an element of self-control. I've had to learn when to say enough is enough, when to say a conversation is over, when to learn when something is no longer fruitful but becoming fruitless. It's been good for me in that sense. It's been good for me in the sense that it's allowed me to stay connected to people who are friends of mine or make new friends and talk to them. Like, David Sidebotham and I does the show with you a lot, Calvin. This is a guy that I've never met in person, but him and I have had hours-long conversations on Facebook messaging about Jesus or about family, and we've really gotten to know each other and become good friends because of Facebook. We've had that ability to connect and talk and get to know each other better because we're both stuck at a computer all day. We work. So I might as well talk to somebody while I'm doing this. But in some ways that it's not good for me, it's obviously I can get into some pretty long drawn out debates. I don't necessarily do that anymore. I'll occasionally still have a discussion, but I really do everything that I can to keep it from being a debate. And generally, if it gets to that point, I'll actually stop commenting and I'll actually message that person and have a discourse with them that way, because I find that usually is more fruitful. It's almost like people are positioning themselves to try to not look stupid when they do it on their page, but when you do it in personal discussion, you actually get honest discourse, which is what I'm doing anyway. I'm not trying to position, or that's just not how I am. So, I get to a point to where it's like I message him, okay, what's really going on here? What's really your viewpoint on this, right? Like, what's the real deal here? Like, let's get past the positioning and you trying to sound and look smart. You know, what's actually going on here? And you know, so I think there's ways of doing that are fruitful and healthy. But you know, the one thing that this has really taught me it has been self-control, and that's always been an area of my life that has always needed some work. And it's an area of my life now that is, I feel like social media has really helped me acquire that particular skill.
Interesting. See, now I'm looking at things. Now that I'm not on social media, and I'm reserving the right to get back on at some point, because I've had a lot of downtime to kind of be away from it. Just how much time I got back by not getting in debates or not clicking on this video. You know, this mother and daughter did this. What happened next is unbelievable. I mean, it's just bait. I click on those things, right? I click on everything that goes viral. You know, I'm big on BuzzFeed. There's Deadline Detroit, because I want to know about all things Detroit, so I'm always reading the news about what's going on here in my city. And you know, and then, you know, that's debates aside, checking on friends and family, and, you know, clicking on what event is going on aside. There's so many things that I was doing that just, once I was off, I realized I didn't necessarily need it, but I also don't want to demonize social media, because let's be honest, the moment I got off, I felt very ostracized. Very ostracized. Like, the immediate feeling for me was, I don't know what's going on in anybody's lives. This is how we, you know, love it or hate it, this is how we communicate now about what's going on in our lives. Now, we could say that that's anemic community, but it's some form of community, and we've adapted to it. And so I feel in a way, I think in a way that being off of social media, while very helpful, is actually, in a very real way, removing me from the culture that I am called to be a part of. You know, you go, I mean, when you're a missionary, you go where the people are, right? All right, well, you know, I'm going to go to this country. Well, where do the people in that country generally hang out? Well, they hang out in the marketplace. Well, you know, I'm a savvy missionary, so I'm going to go hang out in the marketplace. Here in America, where do people hang out? Tend to hang out in bars and coffee shops. All right, you know, I know a lot of pastors who strategically go to bars and coffee shops. My church knows that people are online. That's where everybody is. So my church actually opened up an internet campus. I don't know anything about that internet campus, which begs the question, what is church, which is a whole other kind of podcast that I'd like to have here in the future. But you have churches that are opening up internet sites that are functional churches. You have churches that are releasing all of their sermons online for free. I mean, I've listened to Mark Driscoll for years now, and he's out in Seattle. I've never met the man, but he affects my life all the way over here in Michigan. But there are people on social media who either love that man or hate that man. And there are people who either love me or hate me on social media. So I guess I feel like, or I think and believe that not being on social media, as much as I love it, as rested as I feel, I don't know that it's sustainable at this day, in this day and age, to remove yourself from social media. You're literally like that guy who goes out into the woods and builds a cabin waiting for the world to end. I've had people say, you're one of those freaks who doesn't have a Facebook? I'm a freak. I'm a freak because I don't have a Facebook. That's ridiculous to me, but it's like being a Christian and a Christian who decides, oh, I'm not going to drink. Like, you're one of those freaks who doesn't drink. Everybody drinks. You're one of those freaks who's not on Facebook. What do you have to hide? What are you hiding? That's what I've been asked by people, which is crazy to me. Like, all of my thoughts, that's what I have to hide. I don't have to share all of that with you. But I don't know. It's so weird to be in this place where I feel ostracized by not being on it, and I'm seen as a weirdo for not being on it. I'm ostracized in two ways.
I think discipline, like Justin said, self-control, that's really the key to having a positive experience in social media. I think it's something that I've lacked, which is why I get so anxious about it, because I'll get into those conversations where I just know it's fruitless. Like, there's no point in responding. This person doesn't actually want to hear what I have to say. They just kind of want to sound smarter than me. And I know that, and I'll put my phone down and I'll walk away and I'll like come back 5 seconds later and just look and like, no, okay, no, it's fine. And I just have a really hard time letting it go. I think that is definitely something that makes it an unpleasant experience for me at times. On the other hand, like, there's just no denying that there have been so many great relationships, not only made but built and made stronger through Facebook. My husband and I were missionaries in Australia for a few years, and I've seen a handful of those people since we moved back. But like, I love following their lives online. I wouldn't know half of what I know about them if it wasn't for those kinds of resources. And a lot of them I can even text, even though they're like in the South Pacific. It's cool that I can just send them a text message during the day. Technology makes that really easy. And there's absolutely some positives. I'd like to be a little bit more like my mother, who I often tease about this, but she'll get on Facebook after work 2 or 3 times a week, and I'm always like, Mom, did you see what I posted? And she's like, no, honey, I haven't been on that in days. But she has a very positive experience because she's checking in. She knows what we're doing. She brushes up on everything a couple times a week, but it's just not her life. It's not on her phone.
Right.
She's not like racing home from work trying to get online all the time. And I think I could learn a lot from that, I think, honestly.
I think we could all learn from that. Oh my goodness. That's my dad. My dad only logs on to play like Mafia Wars and stuff. I'm like, Dad, nobody plays that. And I'll get together with together with him, or I'll be around him, and he'll just go on and on about some game he's playing on Facebook. You're old when that's what you're on Facebook for. Like, he doesn't care about debates. He doesn't care about BuzzFeed. He doesn't care about the coolest video. He doesn't care about any memes. He cares about Mafia Wars, and he'll send you invitations to play that. I'm like, God, Dad, I love you, but no, I'm not going to play Mafia Wars with you. But I think a question that really comes up for me out of this is, how do we rest? I deleted my Facebook, and apparently nothing is ever deleted because I deleted it. But it says you can come back anytime you want, just log in. So really, it's just been an exercise, Justin, like you said, in self-control, not logging into that Facebook, and all of my pictures, all of my friends, everything's still being there. My last post still being there, which was really dramatic. My last post was, "Goodbye, Facebook." So if I get back on, I feel like I have to erase that status, right? Click erase last status, so no one will ever know I was gone. Which again was the accusation, you won't be gone that long, which is true. Like, you can't be gone. That's the bad thing. Or you're deemed the guy who's wearing the tinfoil hat because he thinks aliens are, probing his thoughts to the government. So the question is, how do you rest? How do you take a rest from digital media? When I first got my bike, that was my way of doing it. I would get out on my bike and I would just ride. But now I'm at the point where I have my phone and I'm just going to listen to music. I like to have some music. I can listen to praise and worship music while I'm on my bike ride. Okay, well, that's cool. All right, well, now I'm stopped at a stoplight. So just like in the car, I'm going to pull out my phone and check my email. or I'm going to take a picture of myself on my bike, put that on Instagram so people will understand that I'm riding my bike right now. Like I can't disconnect. I can't just like I had to replace Facebook with something else, so I didn't remain obsolete or irrelevant. So the question of how we rest, I'm asking it of you guys because I have no idea how to rest. Because even when I'm resting, I'm not resting.
Cal, I think with you and I are similar personalities. It's just that I've been married for a while now, so I've had to learn how to control that, or else life is a constant battle. You're a gentleman of extremes. You like when you get into something, you do it, and I think while in some areas that's great. I think that at times when you ask the question of, well, how do you have rest? If you make social media a regular practice part of your life where it is disciplined, then it just becomes a routine deal. It's not something that you necessarily need rest from. It's just something that you do and then you live your life. I think the problem with a lot of people with social media is that they want to update people in their life about everything that they're doing. Well, I'm at a concert right now. I'm riding my bike. I'm eating this food. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And the reality of it is nobody really cares what food you're eating. or I mean, I don't mean to sound callous about it, but it's like, dude, realize what this is.
Right, that's one of those questions I asked. Like, when I was off, I was like, why should anybody care that I'm eating spaghetti right now?
No one does.
Other than
no
me.
one does, Calvin.
There was actually there was, believe it or not, something I saw on Facebook which was hilarious. It was this meme that said, "Hey, do you remember when we were kids and we would take a picture of we would sit down for dinner and we would take a picture of our dinner and we would run to the drugstore, we would get that picture developed, and then we would run to all of our friends' houses, knock on all their doors, and show them the picture of the food that we were eating?"
That's right.
Yeah, neither do I. Cut it out.
So I think that when you get it to a point to where you recognize what it's for, I use Facebook as a ministry. I intentionally do and do not post things. I'll read things all the time online that I think are hysterical, but I'm not going to share it because it might not be appropriate, or someone might read it wrong, or so I view my Facebook as kind of a ministry, even to my friends. I'm not going to I'm not using Facebook as kind of like my own little, hey guys, this is what's going on in my life every day. I'll take pictures, I'll post new pictures, I'll do things like that. I'll update people about what's going on in my life that are important to me. But at the same time, I'm not sharing. I might post a status once a week, twice a week, maybe. And if I'm really busy, it's like I'm lucky if I even get on Facebook within a 48-hour time period, if I'm crazy. So I think it's just one of those things where you have to recognize what it's there for. You can be part of that community and yet not have to be completely and totally obsessed with it. You can be. I have like a priority list where when it comes to, if I'm at church, I'm at church. I don't have my phone out. I'm not looking at Facebook. I'm not doing this or that. It's in my pocket, or I'm looking at it, reading scripture, or I'm not doing. When I'm doing a church event, it's in my pocket. When I'm in the car with my wife, it's in my pocket. When we're out to dinner, it's in my pocket. Now, these are like most of the time. Sometimes I have to have it out because I'm dealing with a situation with someone where I'm counseling them, or they've got a Bible question or something like that. And so I will, whip it out for stuff like that where I'm doing ministry work. But, as someone who is a Christian and someone who is seen as a leader within his faith community, I have to be careful of the things that I say and the things that I do, because I'm trying to be an example for the cross. So that's something that we have to keep in the forefront of our mind at all times. And yet there are times where I will say or do something incredibly stupid. And Calvin, you know these because you've called me out, and so has a few other people. I have made it a point, however, not to ever delete those things, because those things are things that I can learn from, and they're things that I want people to see, hey, Christians are human beings who make mistakes, and this is how a discourse between Christians look. You know, when one Christian base looks at another Christian and says, hey, you're an idiot. What are you doing? You know, that's what this looks like. And so I want to be real on my social media, but at the same time, you know, it isn't my life. So
I think you're right on about setting boundaries. I think that's really important. I think probably I get in trouble when I don't have them. I just kind of do it whenever I want. So and I have to make a conscious effort. Like, why am I feeling so anxious right now? Well, I have been looking at my phone consistently for the past 2 hours while I'm doing everything else. My focus is so split. Of course, I feel anxious. So I have to set boundaries for myself, specifically with my phone. I'm gonna leave it up in my room this morning, and I'm just gonna play with my son, and we're gonna do what we're gonna do, and I'm not even gonna look at it for however amount of time until I need to get it for this or that. Or maybe we don't have phones out at dinner, or we don't get on the computer until the baby's in bed, or whatever it is that you can feel good about. I think I struggle because I'm always rationalizing, I'm going to keep my phone up in my room and I'm not going to look at it until nap time, until after nap time. But then I'm like, oh, well, what if Todd is at work and needs to get a hold of me for something? Well, maybe I should just have it down on the kitchen table just so I can hear it vibrating. And then I'm like, oh, well, I was supposed to call to make that doctor's appointment, so I'll do that real quick. And then I'm like, oh, well, I'm here. I might as well look at all my notifications. And I wanted to send a text to somebody. Before I know it, I'm spending an hour in front of my phone again because I just went to grab it for a quick second. So I think, and for me, I have to tell myself, it's okay if I miss a text message. I didn't always used to be 100% reachable 100% of the time. If somebody calls me and I don't get it for 2 hours, it's okay. I can call them back in 2 hours. They're not going to not want to be my friend again, or the world's not going to end because I didn't instantly reply to a text message. And I have to really tell myself that, because I'm such a controlling personality. So I want to be right on top of everything all the time. And so I have to really make myself be okay with, it's okay. It's okay if I'm off the grid for a little bit. It's actually really healthy for me to do that. I think for me in particular, after having my son, I really struggled with some postpartum depression and anxiety. And a lot of what comes along with that is just kind of feeling out of control, and seeing, reading stories on Facebook that are disheartening, and you think, I just brought a child into this world and everything's going to hell in a handbasket, and just everything would set me off. And so one of the exercises that I was working on was just to have moments of meditation or rest, whatever you want to call it, where I was just quiet for a period of time. And I was going through a book at the time, and it suggested you sit for an hour and just be quiet. You could nap if you wanted to, but you just couldn't watch TV, couldn't be on the phone, no computer. And that was a wake-up call for me, because it was so hard. I made it 15 minutes of just laying there quietly, and it was torturous. It was torturous. I felt so jittery. It was crazy, and I thought, what is wrong with me? Because I used to love to just sit outside, and I used to, at school, I would just take my blanket out and just watch the baseball games, and I'm not like that now. I'm always doing something. Even when I'm with my son, the TV's on, the radio's on, I have my phone in my hand, the computer's on. So it was a wake-up call to me that I really need to, it's important that I find that space to rest. It's important for my mental well-being. It's important for my spiritual well-being. And I think it's really important for my son and for my husband, for them to have my focused attention, not be constantly split-focused.
I, just in terms of trying to get off social media, I try not to get online before 9:30 in the morning. It's just kind of a thing. That was my deal before I started working at 7 in the morning. So now I was like, oh, okay, I gotta adjust the time based on my life, right? Because 9:30, this is ridiculous. I've been up 2.5 hours, and a lot can happen between 7 and 9:30. So again, like you said, you rationalize. Oh, well, what could happen? Something could have happened in that time. What if I don't know about that, and so on and so forth. And it's actually been weird. There have been like I'll get into work, and at where I work, there's this big. There's a waiting room, and so there's this big flat screen TV, and it's always on the news. So because I'm not on social media, and because I don't watch television live, I DVR pretty much everything. When I walk in, that's when I see the news. Like, oh my gosh, a plane got shot out of the sky in over Ukraine or in Russia, and it's like, oh my goodness, I didn't know about that. But if I had been on social media, I would have known that as it was happening. Somebody on the plane would have been, our plane was just hit by a missile. Love you, Mom. I mean, that would have been, I don't mean to make light of that situation by any means, but that's how fast the flow of information is. Like, as soon as the plane hits the ground, there's a tweet about it. There's a Facebook status about it. There's, reports that are written about it within 5 minutes, and I'm plugged in all the time. I'm plugged in and can't unplug. And that's why I've come up with these times, like, okay, for my first hour of being awake, I stay off of social media. I give myself time to wake up. I give myself some time to pray. I give myself some time to worship. And I try to keep social media out of places that are supposed to, I hate to use the word recenter, to reorient me. Like when I go to church, I try to take my Bible with me, my physical Bible, because a pastor will say, hey, you know what? Pull out your Bibles. We're going to be in John chapter 3. And even though they have it on the screen, I like to have my Bible there so I can underline and stuff. Because I found that when I was taking my phone, which has my Bible on it, I would be, I go to the Bible on my phone, and the pastor would keep talking to me like, well, let's see what's going on Facebook. Hey, you know what? This is really cool. I want everybody to know that I'm at church. I'm going to take a picture of my pastor preaching. I'm going to hashtag something that he said that's really cool. And so now I'm taken out of this moment of instruction, Christian instruction, because I want people to know that I'm being instructed as a Christian. And so, again, social media getting in the way and electronics getting in the way of living life, like you said, Justin. It's not my life, but it's becoming my life. And so setting up those boundaries where I return to the real world and understand that not everybody in the world has this. There are people in the world without this, and they live just fine. And before social media was here, we were okay. It's like, hey, you know what? I guess I just missed that call. I'm not going to be able to call that person until I get home because my phone is at home. That's the only place where you had a phone when I was a kid. Like, hey, is Calvin home? Nope. Call back later. That was it. And now, it's like, Calvin home? Nope. All right, I'll text him. That's kind of the deal. And so I have to be okay with this idea of intentionally disconnecting or setting boundaries where I am not always connected and on the go. So, anyway.
And I think what you're saying, just about rationalizing, it's okay if somebody, if you don't answer their phone call right away. There's a lot of pressure from other people too. I know that if I don't respond to text messages or call somebody back very quickly, I hear about it. Somebody, will be upset with me that I didn't answer their phone call in a timely fashion because we expect people to be so easy to reach. And, and I do it too. If I send someone a Facebook message, I want a good, restaurant recommendation for tonight. Like, I expect them to get back to me, immediately because I need to know. And I get frustrated if they don't. And so I think it's not only just, setting it up in your head, okay, it's cool, I can just step back from this, but also being okay that people will probably be disappointed in you a little bit because, like you said, you're a weirdo who's not on Facebook. Right. You're a weirdo that's not constantly, checking your phone. I accept that from my grandmother. If I call my grandmother and I don't hear back from her in a while, I just figure she's out at the casino or something. But like my brother, I'd be mad if my brother didn't call me back because I know he's got a phone and I know he's on Facebook.
There's no sacred space. Like, again, church. I will not. I'm uncomfortable if, when I live with my parents, I would be in the bathroom. My mom can still talk to. She'll be in the bathroom, using the bathroom, going number 2, and she will talk to you through the door. And I'm like, no, that's sacred time. That's me time. That's not time for anybody else. I'm uncomfortable talking to people doing that, right? And so I don't like when people talk to me when I'm in the bathroom. If I get a phone call and I'm in the bathroom, I'm not answering the call. I'm just not going to do it. But I will text you all day long. I will sit there for an hour just texting away and checking what's going on. And and it's so weird. Like, I'll be like, Calvin, you were done using the bathroom an hour ago. Why are you still sitting? Why are you still sitting here? Like, there's just no sacred space. And so I've had to learn to even like not take my phone with me into the bathroom. But I'll be in the bathroom. Now, here's a funny thing. If I take my phone in the bathroom, I'll sit there for an hour. But if I don't take my phone in the bathroom, I'm in and out, because who knows what could have happened in the last 10 minutes I was in there. The world could have changed drastically. I'm waiting for the news that they release a hoverboard. Okay, we're getting closer and closer to 2015, and I want to be there for that moment. Okay, that's really what I'm afraid I'm gonna miss.
Well, I think that there's these things on your phone called there's a notification center, and you can turn notifications off and on.
I actually turned off all my notifications for my text messages, so now I don't even get a little bubble telling me I have text messages.
Because of the kind of ministry I'm involved in, and I counsel and I work with people who are having a hard time, stuff like that. I have to be able to be immediately accessible to people who have my phone number. Because if you have my phone number, it's because I gave it to you to utilize, not because you're just some schmuck who has it. So I turn every notification off but texting and phone calls, and those are the only 2 things that I get a notification on. So that and Facebook Messenger. But, I mean, everything else is off. I don't know if there's something on Facebook unless I get on Facebook. I just don't see it. I have a notification for LinkedIn, which is my professional one, and I've only got professional contacts there, and then WordPress for my blog. So that way I know if someone has commented or if there's something that I need to deal with. But, I mean, that's all ministry-related stuff. So, like, in terms of me, social media, it's not. I really don't have a issue with just turning off.
I had to turn them all off. I had to turn them all. I mean, like, even with text messages, like, hey, you know what?
I said, you're a person of extremes.
Yeah, but I'd see those. Yeah, I'd see those. You have 3 messages, and I have to text them back. I actually got a message today. I just happened, again, don't have notifications on, but I had my phone in my hand, so I didn't need notifications. So I'm looking at the screen. This person texted me. I texted her right back, and she said, "You're the only one of my friends who immediately texts me back. I love that about you." And I was like, wow, I'm being appreciated for the fact that I'm always accessible, and yet I'm struggling with the idea of not always being available, because I don't and shouldn't feel the need to always be available and accessible and whatnot. So, I mean, maybe there's no answer to this. Maybe there's no answer to how to rest. I like the thought about boundaries. The boundaries are going to look different for everyone, and not rationalizing myself out of my boundaries, because, like I said, took all the notifications off on my text messages, but now I'm like, is someone texting me? I don't know. I should check my text messages. And so I'm going into it. I'm going into it regardless, which is crazy. But yeah, so I don't know. Maybe we haven't solved anything. If you're listening, maybe you guys can give us your 2 cents. I don't know. Leave a comment or something. But I think this is a good place to kind of land the plane. It's been a good conversation. I wish we'd solved everything, but we haven't. We failed our listeners. We failed our listeners.
We failed our listeners. We are utter and complete failures.
All right, well, you guys have a good week. Kara, have a safe journey. Where are you going? Not Mackinac. Was it Mackinac?
Yeah, Mackinac.
All right, have a safe journey to Mackinac. Justin, my birthday is next weekend. Woo woo! You coming down? Coming down? Coming down?
Next Saturday, right?
Saturday's the day.
Are we doing Saturday or are we doing Sunday?
I don't know which day is more available for you. Probably Saturday, huh?
I don't know yet. Let me look.
All right. Hit me up sometime tomorrow. All righty. I'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.